Hey everybody, it's Fiona May.
And Sandra Lee, and today's topic is you are one call away from rebuilding your family. We know how hard it is when you've gone through separation and divorce, not just for yourself, obviously it's super hard for us, but it's super hard for all the collateral damage in a way that happens to our relationships, the impact on our kids and the impact on our parents, the impact on everyone, even our friends. So we're just going to talk about how we can, and strategies on how we can rebuild our family.
Cool. So we're going to share our slides. Are we already doing that? Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, ladies, you are one call away from rebuilding your family. And I know that sounds like, yeah, sure. If you have a strange family at the moment or you've got some challenges, it might feel that it might not ever get back to what it was. And I want to encourage you. We see ladies all the time and work with them and help them rebuild. And the first thing that we do is work with them on rebuilding themselves, rebuilding their lives, rebuilding their identity and their courage and their happiness, because very often we push people away and people don't know how to handle us or the situation. And so when people feel like they're out of their depth, often their defensive walls go up. And so it's really important that we can, heal ourselves so then we can start rebuilding these relationships. Your family is the foundation of your life for most ladies. And no matter what challenges you face, you have the power to rebuild and restore those precious bonds. With the right mindset and support, you're just one call away from starting anew. So Sandra and I are going to take you through some of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis with our clients.
Yeah, one of the things that I found, and my first divorce was going back 25 years now. We'd been together 18 years and we had a 5 and an 8-year-old. And it was a very different dialogue and very different discussion with our kids at that age about us breaking up, and also the impact that it had on them and their understanding of how the dynamics had changed and how it meant for them and what significance they still had in our lives. So, and their dad moved out of the house and they then spent time with dad in a different house than they'd ever been to before, and different space, and there was different mates around or different people around as well. So all of these things created completely different conversations than when I split up with my second husband, and my kids were now 17 and 20, and they were both living at home, but it was a very different relationship. And they both had built really strong relationships with the second guy because he'd been in their lives for 12 years. So these are things that it's really tough for our kids, and it's hard enough for us. And then we're overwhelmed with having to find maybe somewhere to live and how the money's going to work, how the kids are going to still get to school, how we're going to keep a roof over their head. And then you've got the kids potentially, going through dealing with their own emotions and maybe even anger towards you as well. So this healing broken relationships, it is a really practical thing that we have to do. And we have to take proactive action and mending the rifts and that reconnect with loved ones to create stronger, more resilient family unit. Because if we can get to that point that we do heal and we do mend anything that has been bent or broken, it ends up being a lot stronger. So that's something that if we can do it in a really emotionally intelligent way, our kids get the result from that, and they get to see that we can communicate with them in a really respectful way, dealing with their anger or dealing with their frustration, and mostly dealing with their hurt. So providing stability. Children thrive in an environment of love, support, and security, and it's essential for their development. They need framework. They need to have tried and trusted boundaries, and they thrive in that environment. So when you end up, my ex, he ended up being really soft with the kids when their dad, when they were 5 and 8, and was letting them eat, ice cream for breakfast and doing things that we would never have done at home.
And made you the bad dad.
And I was the bad mum because I was like, well, why don't you let us eat ice cream for breakfast, Mum? And I was like, oh, gosh. So it was like a completely new world had opened up, and it wasn't an easy one to navigate. It wasn't one I'd planned, and it wasn't one that I even knew where to start and how to start communicating. And the kids used to come home go over to their dad's on a Friday and come home on a Sunday night, and they would be just needing a day or two, even sometimes more than that, to be almost deprogrammed from the weekend at their dad's on different diet, high and sometimes in sugar, and no sleep, and playing games all night and mucking around, different to what they would do. No homework and no structure. So when they came home, I was just like, we stopped doing that and telling them to go to bed and telling them they couldn't eat. And I felt like I was the terrible mum. So it was a really tough one to work out how to go through and put into place healthy boundaries for when they were at home, and teaching them that when they were at other people's places, whether it was their dads or grandparents or their friends' parents, that they had to live by their rules and respect their boundaries and rules too. So, but when they were home, they had to respect mine. So that rediscovering joy, celebrating the unique bond of family and the happiness and shared experiences, the ability for us to create new shared experiences. Our Christmases were very different after we'd gone through separation, and certainly we didn't have, shared Christmases. I know Fiona's were different, but certainly for me, it wasn't practical for me to have a shared Christmas with my ex. And I think for the kids, they ended up then doing Christmas about. So instead of seeing me every Christmas, they suddenly saw their dad one Christmas and their mum the next Christmas. And that was something that was really sad and I found really hard to start with. But the kids went through and they said they actually had some buy-in to what they wanted to do as well, and said that they'd prefer that rather than halfway through the day they just get to open their presents and they can't play with them or spend time with the family properly, and they've got to uproot as soon as the meal's finished and take off to the other family. So, and I was conscious too, we lived in a rural town, so not having hours on the road on Christmas Day and not, just reducing that risk of something happening to them as well.
Okay, so the impact of broken relationships is huge. And, I thought at one stage that it's only young kids that get affected by divorce. I didn't think initially that my older kids, what were 18 to 22 when we went through our separation, I didn't think they were going to be impacted. And I was sadly and quite interestingly, shocked at the impact it had on my adult children. And after doing this work 10 years, I see it time and time again. And I actually think, well, I know now that older children often get more impacted than younger children. And sometimes, I talk to mums and I ask them all the time, how are your kids? And often they say, oh, they seem to be okay. They don't talk about it. And, very often that is just because they're not talking about it. It doesn't mean that they're not hurt. And it doesn't mean that they're not got some major dramas going on in their own life, because the truth is when a relationship breaks down and a mum and dad separate, they lose half of their identity, half of their life, half of their genetics, walks out the door the day their dad does or the day that their mum does. And so this is a huge change for kids to have to process. And the truth is that none of them really have the tools and the skills they need to be able to navigate through it. They don't have the emotional intelligence. They don't know how to make sense of it. And for a lot of them, it really does hurt them right down deep at the core. This emotional turmoil is created by broken relationships because they can lead to a feeling of isolation, resentment, and deep sadness. And often they don't have the ability to articulate and speak up and be able to share that sadness. And what we also see is when a mum is really sad and hurt or angry and confused, the kids don't want to be, sharing their feelings with their mum because they don't want to exacerbate that situation. So it leads to a lot of, everyone in the family walking on eggshells and not really communicating and being honest about how they're truly feeling. It leads to behaviour changes. Very often we see this. Children may struggle with anxiety, depression, or difficulty forming healthy relationships themselves because so often they are scarred deeply emotionally right down at the core because of their parents' separation and divorce. Now, we're not blaming, we're not, attributing fault anywhere, because it just is what it is. Our message is always to deal with whatever your situation is, and don't just sweep it under the rug, and to actually heal from it. And to heal from it, you need to grow beyond it. The truth is that it's very hard to try and navigate out of a situation that you got yourself into using the same tools and skills that got you there. The truth is that you always need to grow your mind, learn new tools and skills, and process the pain to be able to grow beyond it. And it's why coaching is so important, because unless you have a clear vision of where you're going to, it's very hard to get there. Lasting scars are often the result of our separation and divorces. So unresolved family conflicts can have a lasting impact, making it harder to trust and be vulnerable. And, we see a big difference in the kids that go through a separation and divorce where the parents are amicable or end up amicable. That's a very different outcome for those kids as to the kids whose parents continue to be in conflict or continue to have no relationship or to have a hostile relationship. And it does affect kids right down at their core as to how they're going to parent as themselves, or how they are going to conduct themselves in a relationship. I was speaking to a client just the other day, and it was one of my male clients. I love coaching men as well, and he said that he's never trusted women because his mum didn't, when his dad left, his mum never got over the hurt and the pain, and she became bitter and cynical, and she had a distrust for men, and she didn't like men. And she always, she never got into another relationship. She just was really angry and bitter about the whole situation. He grew up as a boy in a house that was told, that men are bad. And he felt bad because he was a man and he was her son. And I'm sure she didn't mean to do that damage, but she did that damage. And this boy he's a man now, and he's never let down his guards and been vulnerable and allowed a woman to love him, because he feels like if his mum couldn't love his dad, or, turned so bitter against his dad, and he's just could never process that change and what happened in their family and mum's hurt. And he didn't know how to console mum because he just didn't have the skills and the tools to be able to do that.
Yeah, we unfortunately see many women and hear from them, and many come even into our coaching programs and work with us. And at the start, that their stories are of a relationship that's become distant. They've got a daughter or a son or multiple children. One lady we know, we're working with her. She's got all four of her children have taken the sides of their dad, because they saw he was somebody that was hard done by or weaker in the situation, and they felt sorry for him. And they have refused to even talk to their mum and even hear her side of the story. They just have listened to him and felt for him, and felt their mum was so strong and tough, and was this tough front, not tough heart, tough front, that she could have coped with everything. Yet her story is that she was enduring domestic violence for years. The kids never saw that, and they have no idea. And she doesn't want to tell them that because she doesn't want to, break their hearts of what their dad's done to her as well. So it's a tough gig, and it's a tough situation. Every single situation we've heard has been really different. One lady came to us just a few months ago, and she had been scammed on a dating app. Her and her husband had separated years ago, and she had about $500,000 sitting in her account, and she had been looking after it and protecting it and making sure that she was putting money away wisely. And she was involved in a dating scam. It wasn't her fault. It was a professional outfit, and they stole nearly $400,000 of her $500,000. So she was left with now less than $100,000 that she's got to live on or use to survive for the going forward. And she's at 60, and now she's got to rebuild and start again her savings in a fund. And she's got 2 daughters that are resenting her for that, and they have not spoken to her. In fact, they've gone the other way, and they want her to give over control of her bank account to them because they said that they couldn't trust her with their inheritance. And it's her now building up her own self-belief and self-confidence again and setting healthy boundaries, because that's not okay either. And that is another form of bullying or domestic, financial control, which is not okay. So this is where it comes back to, when we get us right, we get everything else right. We feel self-confident with our decisions. We believe in ourselves. We trust in what we're thinking and saying, and how we're acting as well. So, and the kids see that too. And there's 100 of those stories, and they're all incredibly sad, and they're incredibly life and things are going through, the trauma that people are going through every day over things that have not been their fault or have not even been something that they've wanted, and they dearly love their kids unconditionally as well. So that power of connection, that emotional fulfillment, strong family connections provide a deep sense of love, belonging, and emotional security. And the opposite, when that's missing, you feel a gaping void, a gaping hole, and it is so sad. And that mutual support, family members can lean on each other during challenging times, offering comfort and encouragement. And that's when we don't have that support, it's something that we really miss. And you can't find that always with a friend or someone that's a companion, or someone that you've even just met, because it is so personal and it does hurt so much. And in many cases, like this lady we spoke to, even though it wasn't her fault, she felt a lot of guilt, and she felt a lot of blame for herself. She was self-blaming. And lasting memories, cherished moments and shared experience strengthen the family bond and create lasting memories. And, it's important that once we've gone through what we have, that we create new memories and new foundations and new shared experiences with our kids and with our family. And, it's what is your new tradition going to be for Christmas? And it might have always been, that you had a traditional Christmas that, with the family all turning up on Christmas Eve. Well, flip it into lunch on Boxing Day, or into lunch on Christmas Day, or do a big breakfast on Christmas Day, or do a picnic in the park. It doesn't have to be something that you've always done. And sometimes having a complete flip and a change can create new memories, new fun, and new experiences, and it becomes a new tradition as well. And this generational legacy, rebuilding your family, can positively impact future generations, creating a lasting legacy and of love, and moving on to those next generations as well, which is so critical. What we're doing now has an ongoing impact on future generations forever.
Yeah. So how do we take the first steps? I think you've got to acknowledge the need, recognize that your family deserves restoration and that you have the power to make it happen. As women and mums, we have such an important role in our families. I mean, we're often the leaders, the role models, for our kids. And as single mums, it is a big responsibility, but it's something that, a lot of mums just feel so wonderful about, is to actually, be that person that brings family together. The masculine energy is very linear, it's very driven, it's very logical and analytical, whereas the feminine energy is the nurturer. It brings everyone together. It wants to communicate. It wants to collaborate. And these are things that are beautiful. And this is why mums have such a pivotal role in the family. And when mums are emotionally healthy, they can add to and bring other people in the family together, and they help navigate through those challenging and complex situations. Whereas when a mum is hurting, it's very hard for her to be able to not only deal and regulate her own emotions, then the thought of having to, you know, look after and deal with and navigate through the challenges that can come when you get a couple of kids together at a family event and you throw in some son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws and kids, and you know, sometimes it can feel totally overwhelming, and especially when we're coming up to Christmas and we've got festive seasons following. We always say to people that it's a great time to do your personal development. It's a great time to go in and heal your heart, so you're in a much better place. When you're happy and you're making progress, everything else just sort of flows in your life. It's nothing else is as hard as what it is to get yourself on, you know, sorted, and your emotions locked down, so you feel happy and contented, and that you have your own life in order. And I think that's the first priority for any mum going through separation and divorce, is to get her own life in order. You know, this is where you can reach out for support. Don't be afraid to seek guidance from counsellors, group support groups, and trusted loved ones. I would recommend there that, you know, this is deep healing work that needs to be done, and having a divorce recovery coach who is experienced in these things and who can guide you and actually give you good advice. One of the things we always do with our ladies who are estranged or have challenges with their kids is to give them the advice that is going to get them the best outcome. And often at first, while they're hurting, it is don't make contact. You know, don't ask for anything from your kids. Don't be disappointed. Don't, you know, be telling them that you're unhappy with them. All of those things actually jeopardize and you know, they sabotage your relationship. So we've got to get you right and get you in a good place, and then have the confidence to be able to make good decisions as you go forward to rebuild those relationships. You know, this is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight for a lot of people. Even though we sometimes would love for it to happen quicker, it is a journey. So be prepared to put the hard work in and the dedication required, so you can heal and rebuild your family. And I think, you know, this is just work that we need to do after we've gone through a separation and divorce, but doing it sets you up for success in every single area of your life. So I can't recommend it enough, ladies. You need to grow beyond the pain, learn new tools and skills so you can actually create the life that you want to be living.
And sometimes it's teaching ourselves just to pause, you know, pause before we respond, pause before we come back with how we're feeling or a negative retort. And I think that's really powerful, the value of that. And then going back with looking and understanding the more you can, and doing your personal development, understanding more about what they need in life, what there's, you know, we do a lot of work on profiling and a lot of work with understanding what people's core values are, and that you're meeting their values, not just your own. And that's something really powerful, and using language in a really positive way. And, you know, my kids, when they were really little, would come home and say, or even as teenagers, Dad had done something, and I would, and they were complaining about something, and I would agree with them and go, and yeah, it was my chance to, you know, say something negative about their dad, and they were letting me in a way, but then they stopped coming home and telling me anything negative. So I learned to always, whenever they said anything, oh, Dad did this or Dad didn't do that, I would just go, oh, how did that make you feel? And, well, what showed up for you? And, well, okay, well, what are you going to do now? Or how are you going to respond to that? And it gave me, learning and growing myself, gave me the tools to give to the kid and give to the kids, that they could communicate better, have a better relationship, and be more understanding of you know, how Dad was showing up in his relationships, and understanding why he was like he was, and how he was responding in a way that was different to what I was doing or they were doing. So it gave them a great understanding and awareness, and that's a real powerful tool to have as well.
Yeah. So as we navigate through this journey, we need to have honest communication. So open and honest dialogue is key to resolving conflicts and building understanding. So, you know, we teach our clients to speak from the heart, not from the head. and not when they're angry and not when they're hurt, but when they're loving and compassionate. So we teach them to be able to stop and consciously choose what they're going to do and what they're going to say. And it's such an art and a gift, because you can't take words back. Once words are spoken, they can be very, very damaging, and it's very hard to retract them. So we need to think before we speak. And when we do speak, we need to speak in a way that is going to get us the outcome that we actually want. Forgiveness and acceptance is the second stage. It's letting go of the past hurts and embracing a spirit of forgiveness. This can pave the way for reconciliation. We talk about often about accepting responsibility in our relationship, and that often we want to only accept part responsibility. And we have to explain to ladies why it's so important that they accept responsibility for where they're at and what's happened, even when they don't think that they created the situation or caused it or caused all of it. They were just part. And it's often misunderstood. We're not accepting responsibility for other people's behavior. We're accepting responsibility for where we've ended up, where we are right here, right now. And from this place, we can then draw the line in the sand, and we can start being powerful and step into our power, rather than, our actions diminishing ourselves and diminishing other people. So, the third one is just spending quality time together. As you're developing relationships, we need to be, nurturing that relationship. And regular scheduled family activities and outings can strengthen the bond between loved ones. So spending quality time together, making an effort, prioritizing, scheduling things. I know when I went through my separation and divorce, I moved out of the house with 2 cases, and I left my kids in our family home with my ex. And I just moved out on my own. And I think they were some of the loneliest days that I ever went through, is sitting in an apartment on my own when I'd had my family around me and all the people and the noise and the comings and the goings and, of a family home, and then sitting in an apartment on my own. And I thought, at first I was sad, and then I thought, right, well, I've just got to make the most of it. This is where we're at. And I started scheduling, weekly teas, weekly catch-ups, activities, and, it just became a fun thing that we could all look forward to. So, divorce changes everything, but you have the opportunity to create new things, new traditions, and new, memories as a family if you are, prepared to make the most of the situation. Let go of your pain, put it down, and look forward to what you can actually create, because you can rebuild and life can get better, and you can, become a stronger, wiser woman in that process.
Absolutely. So it's overcoming these obstacles and persistence. You try once to have that conversation, or to send a text, or to give them a gift card or a connection card, and you don't get a response, and you don't get the response that you want, then this is where you need to be persistent. You need to keep doing it every week, or sending more, like making sure that you don't miss the birthdays, and you're sending acknowledgements and cards to them at a way that's not unhealthy. It's not obsessive. It's certainly just in a way that's like just once every Saturday or Sunday. We encourage parents that are estranged from their kids to send them a text and say, hey, thinking of you, not asking for anything in return, not asking for them to text back, or not putting any demands, just checking in, just making sure you're okay, and thinking of you and sending love. Unconditional connection. So that persistent, remain steadfast in your commitment to rebuilding your family, even in the face of challenges. And empathy, strive to understand each family member's perspective and needs, fostering greater compassion. I was like, I was expecting when I separated from my ex that, the whole family and everyone will just agree with me and just do exactly what I had done, because, that was the way I would have done it. But they didn't. They stayed connected and didn't really have a grudge with him. And, well, it was my relationship, not theirs. And they were very sympathetic and empathetic to him. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was something that I had to navigate around as well. and learn not to say anything negative about even him or them to each other, because they were all in their own rights to make and have their own relationship with each other in their own way. And being resilient, the ability to be able to understand that perspective of where everyone's at, and to hop back up when you get back on that horse each time something comes up, and each time that you are faced with something that didn't quite go right, a connection that, you got a comment or a text back from one of your kids or from one of the family members, and you didn't quite expect it, and it sort of put you on the back foot again. And then it's about you leaning back, pausing, and considering how you're going to respond if you respond, and coming back in with love as well. Gratitude and love are the key to bringing things back into perspective and keeping things in a really healthy place as well.
Yeah. So celebrating renewed relationships, you've got to cherish moments, savor the precious time spent with loved ones, and create new lasting memories. It's always lovely to get everyone together. And, what we can do is check in with ourselves before we go to an event. Make sure we haven't got, our head getting caught in our head, overthinking, stressing about things. Just being able to show up as our best self, and, being able to navigate any situation without going into, a story or old past patterns. Express gratitude. I've always found that, instead of having expectations of how everyone else should behave, just be grateful that we get the opportunity to spend time together. So swapping our expectation for our gratitude. So appreciate the hard work and commitment that went into rebuilding the family bonds, from everyone. Sometimes it takes a lot of courage for people to show up and to, come to family events, and everybody's got their own stories going on. We have introverts, we have extroverts, we've got people who love celebrations and family, and we've got people who it's probably the worst thing that they can ever imagine doing. But it's everybody's different, so we just got to just try and make it as easy for everyone as possible. And we always try and do no drama, or the least amount of drama at an event. Inspire others, share your journey and encourage others. Be the best person you can be. Don't get in the corner bitching and things like that. Just let that stuff go and focus on, the good and love and celebration and family when you do get together. I know could be really hard, ladies. I know everyone wants to be, loved as a mum and adored, and have their kids happy and healthy. I think that's our aim. And, the truth is there is no rule book. We weren't shown how to do it. Most of us were given very limited training in being a mum, and we're also being given limited training in being able to negotiate conflicts or, build healthy relationships. So these are things that I really encourage you to seek out and teach yourself now, because, you do have the ability to be able to mend a lot of these brokenness from all the people around you, but you've got to rise above it yourself, and you've got to do it first for yourself. And that's why I think it's such a wonderful opportunity for us to heal and grow and, embark on this new journey. When a mother heals, she can heal her whole family. I know this is true in my core, and this is why I do this work, is that I hate to see people suffer. And I know that mums, all of you ladies, are such an important part of your family, and I want to encourage you to keep up with you looking after yourself. Give yourself the self-love that you need, and grow your mind and learn the new tools and skills that are going to help you to, move on from this situation, put your past behind you, and create a life that you truly love, because you deserve to be happy, and I want you to be happy.
So, ladies, you're one call away from rebuilding your family. This is an opportunity that you can connect with our team, connect with us. You can give us a call. You can book in. It's free. We know that the things that we teach people and the strategies that we've used, and many of our clients have used now, in fact, we've had over 20,000 women that have worked with us, that they work, and they're things that it's just tough to do it on your own, and you don't have to. there's no better time than now to start building a relationship. And, you know, leading into special times, my son got married in February this year, and I hadn't seen his father for many years. But I had healed, and I had got myself to a place that when I saw him, it was just like I went and gave him a hug. And, you know, these are the things that give us the tools to be able to go and do that, and know that you are I know you're coming at a place from gratitude and love. And I really wanted the day to be beautiful and special for my son and his now wife. So that's where you're coming from when you're coming outside of yourself to thinking differently. But it takes time, and you've be patient, because it isn't easy, and it does take little strategies and little steps and persistent behavior and consistency, and moving forward and having faith in yourself, and that it is going to come through as well.
Yeah. So ladies, just want to encourage you, you know, none of it's easy, but it's worth it. You can't control other people. Sometimes you need to love from afar. You know, so we teach ladies, if their kids don't want to connect with them and they have got their walls up, just to love from afar, and, you know, unconditional love. And you just keep developing yourself, learn the tools and skills that you need to, so you can just have a happy life, that your happiness is not dependent on, you know, having everything perfect in your family, but you being perfect within you is going to help you to be able to, you know, navigate all of those situations as you move forward. So we just want to send you big loves. We know this is, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. We have to deal with what hand we're given, and but regardless of what you got, we know that with healing, with growth, that you can create something amazing for yourself.
You got this, ladies, and leading into special times of the year as well, it can be especially hard. And this is, you know, we're here, reach out, and you're not on your own. We're here to support you, and, you know, there's always a good time to do it, and now's a good time.
Bye, ladies.
See ya. Ciao.